Hello, lovely. This is Into the Hen House, a podcast for moms with littles. We are joining our voices to a revolution of remembrance. And as mothers, we are rising together and choosing to live, birth, and mother from a place of internally sourced power and deep connection. Join us on this journey as we dive into topics of mindful and intuitive living and mothering, healthy and sovereign living, as well as the often taboo topic of birth trauma, both healing and preventing it. We are your hosts, Andrea,
Caitlin,
and Chantal.
And if you're ready, it's time to jump into the hen house.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. I'm so happy you're here. This is our season finale for season 4, and I'm super excited. We have a wonderful guest with a wonderful accent here today. This is Jess, and she is joining from Australia, and she is a spiritual doula, kind of a feminine embodiment mentor and coach. She's a hypnobirthing instructor. Yes.
correct.
That's the right way to say it.
Yes.
And a birth keeper, and just a really wonderful person. And yeah, and
Got me blushing over here.
That's what I do now. And we're going to talk today about the sacredness of birth. So, yeah, anything you kind of want to add just off the top?
No, that's perfect. I feel that we connected online and I just loved your energy. I love the topics that you were covering. I just feel like the information that you're putting out for women and the things that you're highlighting and drawing attention to is just so important. And I felt really aligned with you. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk about birth.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
Birth is such a transformative experience. It kind of, no matter what it looks like, it's such a transformative experience.
So true.
And most, I would say, midwives, and a lot, definitely in the hospital system, it gets broken down into a physiological process. And the spiritual and the sacred kind of gets lost in the medicalization of it, in the preparation. And people don't talk about remembering the sacred in preparing for birth and all of that. So can you talk a little bit about that, remembering the sacredness?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
kind of what that means to you, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So for me, remembering the sacredness of birth is about returning to that ancient knowing that birth is not something that we need to fear. It's not something that needs to be controlled and managed, but it's a sacred rite of passage, and it's etched into our womanhood, and it's something that we should be very connected to and very proud of. Our bodies, our instincts, our intuition, they all carry the blueprint for being able to bring life into the world. It doesn't get much more sacred than that. Sadly, though, I feel that a lot of women have become very disconnected from the power and the beauty of birth. I think for some women, they see it maybe as just another thing that you do. It's become a bit ordinary or a bit mundane, or worse, it's seen as very unnatural or dangerous. I feel like as a society, we've been conditioned to treat it as something that you just get through or that you need to survive. And honestly, that just breaks my heart. Because the birth of my daughter was the most empowering and enlightening and healing, and as you said, transformative experience of my life. So I think that that's what we need to get back to, is seeing birth as a moment in time where a woman does get to stand in her full power, and you're bridging the worlds of spirit and earth as you bring a baby into the world. So I just think that that is so beautiful. And I think that if we start to reclaim that truth and we start to honor birth in that way, it'll stop being something that we see as, something that we have to endure, and it'll start being more of a ceremony and a chance for transformation. And honestly, it shapes your confidence, your sense of self, and the way that you give birth really does set up your journey into motherhood. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I resonate with that so much, because I feel like if you come out of birth feeling, yes, vulnerable. I think everyone coming out of birth does feel vulnerable in certain ways. It's something that just opens you up so wide.
Yes.
However, if you come out feeling whole and like, oh my goodness, I can take on the whole world.
Yeah.
And like, I did this and I did it so well. And what an amazing experience.
Yes.
You don't have to, unfortunately, I read a statistic, and it's like 40%, I think it was 30 to 40% of women report birth trauma, like severe trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm going, that makes the beginning of motherhood so hard.
Yeah.
Because you have to work through all of that while you're trying to be present. And, it makes it so much more difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah. 1 in 3 women are experiencing that. Like, that just honestly breaks my heart, because as you said, it's already such a vulnerable time. So to have to navigate that on top of it, that's a difficult one.
Yeah. Yeah. I love bringing the spiritual to a lot of things, even just bringing the spiritual to parenting.
Yes.
Like, this is a beautiful little soul. And
yeah, it's so innocent.
And yeah, it's this amazing, it's just an amazing process to kind of all the way from conception. And I think even to connect with them, after conception, it's like they're still there. You can still connect with them even then,
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll give you messages.
Yeah.
So
I know my little girl, she picked her name. So
yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like there was no way of doubting it. It was like she was like, this is my name. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. They're definitely communicating with us when they're inside
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah, and I think if we can learn to listen and to trust, that's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah.
And they have their experience, and so it's like a very collaborative process. But I had read somewhere someone sharing, and she had said, giving birth is like walking between the worlds. Like,
yes, that's how
so
I feel
you're
about
kind
it.
of almost 1 foot in the physical and 1 foot in the fully
Yeah.
spiritual realm, and you're merging that to bring something that, yes, is physical, but also very spiritual and
emotional,
energetic,
spiritual,
more
yeah.
like, but bringing that forth. And I thought, that's very true. Like, I felt that was very true in my experience of being somewhat out of the physical world, and certainly out of the mental chitter chatter that happens
that's a
all the
big
time.
one. Yeah, that just goes offline. Hey, and it's birth is very primal, very raw. It's that instincts, it's your emotions. It's like your logical brain is no longer working.
Yeah.
Which is why
Like,
the medicalized world
you're
makes
not
it really
needed.
difficult. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason I love the hypnobirthing as well. It helps get rid of that mental chatter in the early stages of labor, so that you can fully surrender physically and emotionally, and really settle your nervous system. And there were moments in my labor where I was dipping out of altered states of consciousness, and you get taken over by, it's hard to explain, but it's like this ancient power, this ancestral kind of power, if that makes sense, where you're not sitting there consciously doing or thinking, or it's just happening and unfolding. And I just think that is just so beautiful, and that's one of the most beautiful aspects of birth. And I'd love for women to see it that way and get more in touch with that, instead of being scared of it or doubting it.
Yeah, you had touched on it a little bit, but you've talked quite a lot online, and I really love what you said about this, but about understanding the greater system within which one gives birth, and specifically to how certain providers or certain systems or certain, I don't know, sociological constructs
Yeah.
will really seek to shut down the mother's voice, to deny her intuition, to make her doubt herself, to spew doubt at her,
Yeah.
and to just silence her.
And you've been on the receiving end of it based on the
Yeah.
chats we were having earlier. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
100% right.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I do think women don't realize that there is, or there certainly can be. I don't know that every hospital birth seeks to silence women. However, there's not a lot of respect, I would argue, in general within the hospital system for intuition. But can we talk a little bit about different systems of birth and kind of how one might look at that from a more spiritual perspective, from wanting to honor their,
Yeah, definitely.
Their inner knowing?
Yeah, I think the big issue is that hospital systems, they're just simply not set up for very undisturbed natural birth. They have to operate within framework and policy. So they're going to prioritize that policy over, as you said, intuition or instinct. There's certain timelines that they have to follow that is going to override your own internal trust or knowing. And ultimately, compliance is going to come before your own autonomy. And this isn't always about intentional harm. As you said, not all hospitals are setting out to deliberately make it a traumatic experience for you. There are wonderful, caring people that work in these spaces, and I just really want to put that out there because I know midwives and nurses and people in these spaces, they pour their heart into it. But at the end of the day, the structure itself that they're working within wasn't designed to center a woman's innate power or to honor the inherent wisdom of birth. In these medicalized environments, as you said, birth is often framed with a lot of fear-based messaging, and it's managed according to these really rigid protocols. So when a woman's natural pace of labor or her instincts isn't aligning with that, that's when pressure happens. You start, and as I said, all about this, you start to be dismissed. You even start to be told things like your body's failing, or worst case, you're going to die, your baby's going to die. And that's the kind of stuff that is silencing women, because when you're told that, you're automatically going to want to panic, aren't you? You care about your baby, you want the best for them. So they're playing on that in those circumstances because they're having to follow certain frameworks and policies and procedures. For me, that was a big reason why I avoided the hospital system. The best chance of experiencing birth in a way that my body was designed for was to listen to and follow my intuition. And I just felt that I wasn't going to be able to do that in a space like that. So that desire led me to eventually pursue a home birth. And while that was my path, I know that there's going to be women listening that are going to feel more safe or more supported in a hospital. So understanding the system doesn't necessarily mean rejecting it entirely. As you said, there are certain circumstances, a baby coming early, medical emergencies, these things do exist, and you do then need to seek out medicalized environments. But it just means entering with your eyes wide open, being very informed, and making choices. I guess the big thing I would say is making your choices from a place of trust rather than fear and pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say from my experience, the pressure, and we had mentioned this ahead of time, but there's kind of the bite-sized that you get on TikTok and Instagram. It sometimes drives me crazy because you hear a lot of, "Ooh, just say no." You have body autonomy. They don't control you, and it's, yes, that's true. You do. And they have cards they can play too. And you better be prepared that they're going to probably play them.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless you have an extraordinarily unique OB. If your philosophy is radically different than the protocols of the hospital, you're going to probably run into some issues. Unless you arrive there and the baby is like pushed out within a couple hours.
Yeah.
And there's no time to, If there's
That's
no
right.
time for interventions, then you may not have to worry about it. But if you're going to be there for a while, and it's really challenging too. So something I found challenging was I did a lot of childbirth education. I did a lot of reading. I'd been working with women for like years and years already prior to that, heard all about their experiences, had been studying, had, like goodness, like I saw the business of being born when I was like 21.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how I ended up going there to a viewing of it when it just came out. But so it's like I'd been researching this for, over a decade, well over a decade. And but when something kind of changes, like for me, my baby came quite early. All of the statistics and everything that I had from childbirth education was all for a full term baby. And so then they utilized that to go,
Yeah.
ooh, but now you have a preemie, your risk is so much greater. Ooh,
Yes.
now you have a preemie. And I'm going, I actually don't know. I don't know. I know what's true for a full term baby.
Yeah.
And logically, the risk could be a little bit greater. So there's sometimes are gaps in things, like as far
Yeah.
as mental knowledge. And I think that's also where intuition comes in, is you
Yeah,
have
I'd
to trust
agree.
yourself.
Yeah, and even if it's not like your situation where it is premature and it is a full-term labor, at the end of the day, I feel that if you look into, and this is like a whole other podcast we can do, but if you look into the hormones, like our bodies are built to be able to do this naturally. And we have a cocktail of hormones running through our body during labor. And there's certain things that need to happen in order for all of those to work really effectively. And even the fetal, I forgot what it's called now, even that being able to kick in, there's certain things that need to happen. And a big part of that is being in a relaxed, undisturbed state. Think of a cat. If a cat's going to go into labor, right? She's not going to just be in a bright, white, lit up place with all these strangers running around and beeping noises. She's not going to be able to go into labor. She's going to find a dark place to deliver her kittens. She's going to need to be very protected, very safe, very private. And we're no different. And I think we forget that. So as soon as we enter into these environments where all of that's happening, our body, that fear cycle starts to kick in, that fear response where, well, this isn't my usual environment. I don't feel safe here. I don't know that person. What the heck's that sound? What am I smelling? Like your senses are so important. So that's the other big issue, is even if you go in and your labor's progressing quite well, you've been laboring at home and everything's going okay, for a lot of women, as soon as you then change environments, well, now suddenly that's going to delay, and then that's when the cascade of interventions usually occurs for women, because it's, oh, well, now you're not going fast enough, so we need to try certain things, or it's a slippery slope then.
Yeah. And I think though it's less common with midwives, I do feel like some midwives can also fall into the trap of denying mother's intuition and denying her experience, and kind of letting, I don't, ego, for lack of a better word, kind of get the better of them, and also be, playing a part in silencing a mother or casting doubt.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, a lot of them are just protecting themselves. It's not even about the mother giving birth. It's, they have insurances and standards they have to meet to keep their job and not get sued, and all of this stuff, which is what happens when you enter these systems. It's all very regulated. Now, even if she might really care for you and want to give you the experience you want, well, she's at risk if she doesn't support the doctor or support the policies, or if she undermines them in any way. What does that mean for her livelihood and her own family? And so, there's this whole other bigger thing in the background that really interferes with that.
It gets very complicated, and in litigious societies, perhaps even more complicated, right? And and then for free birth, I think a lot of people feel very nervous to do it 100% alone. I'm
Yeah.
curious though, I know you did a home birth. Did you do a birth, like a free birth where it was just you and your
No,
partner?
so we opted for in our area there is a private midwife, so she works outside of the system, and so I did my appointments with her rather than through the hospital, and then she came to our home when I delivered.
Okay.
So we felt, my partner and I, because it was my first baby, that was that made us feel the most secure. So
Yeah.
we pursued
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That had
Yeah.
been my plan too. And
Yeah.
that was what I had hoped for. But
Yeah.
I think that there can be spiritual elements to birth and they can be very transformative, even if things don't go to plan, even if you
Yeah.
don't get the glorious, orgasmic,
Yeah.
phenomenal birth that you dreamed of. I think it can still, every birth has great potential for huge transformation.
I agree. And that's the thing with spirituality. It's not all love and light all the time. And anybody who says that is bypassing a lot of stuff. A big part of spirituality is shadow work as well, and darkness, and sitting in uncomfortable emotions and feelings and experiences, because we are human and we can't control things. And as you said, there is still the ability to really transform in that experience, to get to know yourself on a deeper level, what you're capable of, to explore things that are coming up for you. That's all part of transformation. It doesn't just have to be this glowing, as you said, empowered experience. Sometimes transformation still happens in the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so, kind of on that, in making the choice, and when I say a different choice, maybe about where one births, or maybe just about how one approaches birth, kind of like, how would someone maybe start with that or feel into that? Like, how might it look or feel? Or kind of, if someone is like, I'm, I want to go, I feel that I want to go against what
Yeah, the system and
the
what everybody else
mainstream and
is
the system
saying.
and
Yeah.
whatever, and wherever they choose to birth, but I want to embrace the spiritual side of it. Kind of, I know that's kind of a very broad question,
No,
but
that makes total sense. And these were kind of things that we considered when we made the choice that we did. I think embracing the spiritual and doing what you're saying really starts with recognizing that birth is not physical, not just physical, like we were saying in the beginning. As we said, it's very emotional, it's very energetic, it has the potential to be so transformative for us. It's a threshold where you're not just bringing your baby into the world, but you are also birthing a new version of yourself. And at least that's the way it felt for me. So with that in mind, preparing for birth meant slowing down, creating sacred space each and every day, in which I could connect more with myself and with my baby. So I did things like practicing meditation, grounding myself every day, a lot of time out in nature, listening to my hypnobirthing tracks and my hypnosis, my affirmations, really just devoting a lot of time to that and allowing myself to do a lot of reflection, a lot of releasing of things that were coming up, and healing. Pregnancy, I think, is a beautiful time for us to just slow down and work on some stuff that we need to work on. And my husband and I, we also really fiercely protected my energy. So we kept our home birth plans private. We didn't tell anyone. We moved in silence. We distanced ourselves from anyone who wasn't energetically aligned with the experience that we were trying to call in. And there was no hard feelings in regards to that. It was just, you're not going to serve my highest good right now. You're going to probably try to fill me with fear and doubts. We just created, he helped me a lot in creating a very protective, private space for me. So that was a big thing that I would definitely recommend if you are feeling
and I
external
love that
pressure.
because pregnancy can also be vulnerable, where you can have bizarre worries that come up, or you may feel more impressionable. I felt a lot more impressionable. And I felt like some people would say things where they just thought they were being funny. And I'm going like,
Yeah.
That's not funny. Never say that to a pregnant woman ever.
Yeah.
If someone tells you that you're pregnant, don't say, oh, you won't be able to do it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Like that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Don't say,
And
why would you expect this to go well for you? Nothing in your life goes well. It's like,
oh my gosh,
no,
did someone
no,
say
no.
that to you? That's
Yes.
horrible.
And she laughed and laughed and laughed. Oh
Wow.
my goodness. I wanted to strangle her. I did not.
Yeah.
She is alive, to be clear now.
She's hanging on by a thread. But that's so true. And that's the other big thing that I really try to incorporate in my work in my local area is this sense of sisterhood. Like, it's almost as if some of these women who have experienced maybe a not so good birth, it's almost like they don't want you to have a good one then. So they're immediately negative off straight out of the gate. And like you said, that's just not helpful. And sometimes they'll mask it behind humor or mask it behind care. I just care for you. I'm just worried about you. And it's like, well, I get to decide how I want to feel about that stuff. I don't need your opinion. I don't want you projecting your own stuff on me. And it's easier said than done. Like, I get that when you feel obligated or tied to certain people, which is again why we created that privacy.
I think it's very challenging to create those boundaries, especially when perhaps some of the people who may not support you might be your mother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, people who are, you know, very close, biologically close to you.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and
they feel entitled to have a say or have an opinion, and
you know, and it can definitely be challenging to be like, no, sorry, that's not helpful right now.
That's exactly right. Yep, I agree with you. Yeah. So that was a big piece for me. So I'd highly encourage women out there, if you are feeling a call for something a little different and you don't know how to navigate your social circle, don't navigate it. Keep it to yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep it very sacred, very private, and really protect it. And that's so important.
And I think that that's okay too. Like, even though there's excitement and all of that, I think it's okay to just say, hey, I'm not going to share.
Yeah.
You know, hang on one second. We've got screaming. Bye.
Cute.
She's getting all these words.
Yeah.
So she's funny because when she wants to play, she'll say, get down. Get down. Oh, it's so fun. All right. Tiny little break. Little booby break for the little ones.
Mama break.
Yeah. So, let's talk about remaining sovereign, kind of sovereign in your being, in your essence, in your body, and recognizing the difference between fear and intuition, because I do feel that that's something women often get confused on, is assuming that fear, that the fear that they're feeling is their inner wisdom, and kind of using the intuition as a guiding force and having that discernment.
Yeah. I think remaining sovereign in birth is really knowing in your bones that you know what you're doing. You have the wisdom, you have the intuition, and holding on to that truth, even when the world around you seems to be pushing up against that or trying to get you to do something different. So for me, an example where that came up was in the latter stages of my pregnancy. The last couple of weeks, I did have my blood pressure starting to creep up a little bit. And I felt fine. My baby felt fine. There was no other symptoms, and there was no signs of preeclampsia or anything like that. Yet I was still met with insistence from my midwife to go to the hospital. Of course, she had to cover herself. And so I was sent to the hospital to get checked. And of course, as soon as you get there, I faced pressure to then be induced and deliver at the hospital. So despite all of that noise, I resisted, and I was in a slightly different position to you where I was able to resist that. because my body was really whispering to me that it's almost time. I knew she was coming just around the corner, and I trusted that, and I trusted that everything was going to be fine. And I really felt that I deserved, and my baby deserved, to pursue the birth that we had been planning for. So I returned home, ignored the doctor, and really anchored myself with every tool that I knew. So mindfulness, meditation, hypnosis, we even tried some acupressure and things like that. Just tried to work with my body instead of ignoring it or overriding it. So I'd say that is a good example of the difference between, you were mentioning the difference between fear and intuition. I feel that fear, like the doctor and like the midwife, it's very loud. Fear shouts, it rushes you, it's urgent, it's frantic, it's panicked, it's scaring you. Whereas intuition for me is a lot quieter. It's quiet, but it is unwavering. And that's how I felt in that moment. It was this deep inner knowing that was saying to me, you're safe, your baby's safe, you were made for this, everything's going as it needs to be, and just surrender. So I think when you said, how do women tap in to be able to tell the difference, I think the easiest way, the tip that I would say is, in order to discern between the two, is to just stop for a moment and really observe and sense what's arising within you. Intuition is going to leave you feeling very sure of yourself, this calm confidence, very empowered, very grounded. This is aligned with me. Even if the path is uncertain or a little bit challenging, it's just this steady kind of presence. And it's not creating any panic, it's creating clarity. Whereas fear, on the other hand, it's going to leave you in a state reactive. It's going to pressure you to make choices quickly, and you're going to feel, I guess, small or powerless. And I think the final piece with that too is it then means that your focus shifts outwards to what other people are saying, their expectations, what if scenarios, worst case thinking, instead of it should be going inward to your own inner knowing and strength. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps. But yeah, I think to making heart-led decisions. So drop the people pleasing. Otherwise, you're just outsourcing your power. If you're searching for someone else to tell you what's right, that's going to invite that fear in. Whereas intuition and self-trust is you going really inward and just listening to that quiet knowing in your body and honoring, I guess the big thing is honoring what feels safe, true for you. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think certainly in certain circumstances, remaining sovereign can be much more challenging.
Yes, yeah.
And I think too, we have a tendency to regret decisions that we made out of fear. And I don't know that we ever regret decisions made out of true intuition.
No.
Because it's really guided, even if things aren't quite going to plan. So when I ended up going into the hospital because my daughter was coming really early, and we said, okay, a home birth is not going to happen now. It's just the risk for her is too great.
That's right.
And I went in, and I don't even know. I don't think they had taken my name. We didn't even know if, like 100% for sure if I was in labor. And they're like, you need to be induced.
It's their go-to, isn't it? It was like this doctor that's dealing with me. It's like,
and I just said no. Like I said no to induction so many times in the very long time that I was there.
Yeah.
And I took my 24 hours. I took way longer.
Yeah.
From when my water broke to when I gave birth was 66 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
And
you
and I labored
child.
I labored for 57 of them, I think.
Girlfriend.
And so I just threw the rule book out, and I was like, no, I'm fine. She's fine. I'm keeping on going.
Yeah. I love that. That determination.
And they kept saying induction. And I was like, no. I was like, I will not do an induction. And what's interesting is that I ended up sending my placenta for encapsulation, it was one of the things that actually shockingly worked out for me, was that they actually gave me my placenta back.
Wow.
And I sent it for encapsulation, and she sends me a picture of it, and she's like, I have never seen a placenta like this. It's really, really unique in that the umbilical cord attached only into the venous structures of the placenta. Usually it's into the meat of the organ.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So
Yeah,
she's
so
like, it's
what is
very,
that?
she said it's extraordinarily delicate. And so I looked it up. And
Yeah.
well, it took me a long time to do the research on this, but it's velamentous cord attachment,
I've never heard of that.
which is, it's very rare. It's like 0.5% of all women who have this.
Wow.
And except for in twins
Yeah.
and triplets, it's a little more common. But you tend to get really low birth weights because it's so fragile.
Yeah.
As they get heavier, the risk of the cord breaking gets too big, so they come early. But
Right.
two, when you get induced, women who don't know that they have this and get induced end up in emergency C-sections because it breaks the cord because the contractions are too strong. And so I'm
Yeah.
going, since we didn't know, the hospital, of course, thought I was ridiculous because I'm like, nope, 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 can't do that. Don't quite know why, but I'm refusing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it made sense to have
Yes.
made that choice, because I'm going, I would have put her in potentially serious life-threatening risk if I had done that.
Yeah, I think what you're
So
saying is a
it's,
perfect example of that. It's that intuition, that quiet, unwavering knowing. Like, you didn't have logic, you didn't necessarily have any reason to be able to explain, but you just knew, and you stayed firm in that. And again, we talk about the intuitiveness of birth. The body bringing your baby early was designed for a reason, as you were saying. So all of that stuff, I think, just gets ignored or doesn't get noticed or listened to, and we interfere, and then we create all these other issues.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I laugh a little bit at certain things because I hear it so often online, especially if you talk about C-sections. People get very sensitive about
Yeah.
C-sections, and I get it. It's I did end up having a C-section, and at the time when I chose, I said, okay, my contractions are slowing down, and she told me, she's like, I don't have much longer,
Yeah.
and I said, okay, and then it was like, call the doctor in, we're doing a C-section,
Yeah.
and I'm ready for that now.
Yeah, that's right.
Even though I didn't really want that, but I'm going, okay, she has been so okay through all of this, and now she's saying, no,
I can't do this anymore.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, probably because of the interference from the doctors and nurses and everybody at the hospital, I hadn't quite been able to make it happen.
Yeah, well, you had so much going on, creating that
know.
stress. And even if you
You
think
know.
you're managing it, your nervous system and your body is reacting to that. So
Yeah. Well, and I think so. I had a not my doula who I had hired, because she had an emergency and had to leave. So I had a doula came in that my midwife had hired. Just was like, she's going to come in. Well, I paid, but she had called her and was like, go meet them here. And
yes.
the doula had been with me all night through transition. But in the morning, when the doctors came in, she's like, oh no, I think she's still in early labor.
Oh, right.
And denied like the
Yeah.
hours that,
Yeah,
that
it
she
didn't
had been the
happen.
only one to witness. And I was like, okay. But so anyways, but I digress. But people are funny in how they want to rewrite stories and
Yeah.
all of that. But
Yeah.
I digress. But let's talk about again, kind of coming from that spiritual perspective, the space that the mother walks through, like the process of, and it could even start at conception, of bringing a soul, a being, an essence, earthside of that process.
Yeah, I just feel that there are parts of labor and pregnancy that are just not quite of this world. And when you're in labor, hormones are flooding your body, time feels suspended, as we talked about earlier. That logical, rational brain kind of switches offline and moves out of the way. And it just becomes this very raw, primal, uninhibited experience that you're going through, particularly transition. I know for me, when I was in transition, I just felt completely cracked open in every sense of the word. And I just remember surrendering to something bigger than me. And just, I think that's what full surrender looks like. It's like you're not, yeah. I'm getting emotional thinking about it, but it's not something that you're even conscious of or a decision you're making. It's just happening. It's just unfolding through you. And I think that's very spiritual. And also transition is a portal, which is a very spiritual thing. It's a space where transformation is happening. The old's dissolving, the new is emerging. Life is completely changing direction for you. You're becoming a mother. You can't go back. So you're leaving one version of yourself behind, and really invite, especially if, being a first-time mother, you're saying goodbye to being a maiden. So that's very spiritual in itself. And then, of course, energetically, as we talked about, bridging spirit and earth as your baby comes into the world. So if we really allow ourselves to enter into it, looking at that and honoring that, I just think it changes what birth means for women.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really love that.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
yeah, and I feel too that there's such spiritual components in the journey of motherhood too, because kind of like what you touched on, there's so much of an identity, like losing an identity that you have had, and now you're having to become someone else and rediscover. So it's like, as you're discovering who your beautiful little child is, you're also discovering who you are now.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And
Yeah.
and I do think birth gives, it's however it happens, it is a feat.
Yes.
It's a feat. And I think it's hard not to come out of it saying, wow, I'm really strong.
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
That was
women
the
are
big
very
thing.
strong.
Yeah, that was the big thing for me, just coming out of birth feeling 10 feet tall and bulletproof. It was just the most, and the hormones, and just feeling very proud of myself and very connected to my daughter and my husband. It was just such an intimate experience, an emotional experience. And yeah, I still kind of get teary thinking about it now. It's like I was completely reborn in that moment. And it's changed everything, right down to like my soul purpose and how I feel about myself. And there's just so much more self-trust, self-love. And I'm so thankful that came from my birth experience, because now I get to pour that into my daughter and my family. So yeah, and that's why I'm so passionate about trying to help other women tap into that, because yeah, it's such a great way to be set up for motherhood.
Yeah, that's amazing. And did it happen already, your gathering?
No, not quite yet. So it's
Not yet.
next month. Yeah. So we're
Okay.
getting close, a couple of weeks away.
Yeah. So tell us
Are you
just,
talking about the Birth is Wise and Wild?
yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to hold little events like that, where they're women's circles. So rather than just like an information night, and feeling a bit more removed, I wanted it to be, more intimate, more women coming together, that sense of sisterhood, and just really stripping back everything that we think we know about birth. I think that's the big thing that women need to start with, because just think about it, the TV shows we watch, movies, the chatter we hear online and from other women who have previously given birth, a lot of it can be negative and distressing. And so I think and we carry a lot of that around, even if we're not consciously aware of it. So at this gathering, the very first piece I'll be working on with women is just really releasing all of that, bringing it to the surface. I'm going to incorporate a lot of ritual, so burn rituals, fear releasing meditations, just stuff that's a bit more somatic and unconscious. So really just releasing all of that, and then really focusing on the sacredness of birth, and seeing it more as a rite of passage rather than just another thing that we're doing. You know what I mean? It should be the most important day of your life.
Yeah. Well, it is so sacred. It's like it's like the purest essence of creation.
Yes.
Is happening. Like, this is a big deal.
Yes, right.
And I love that you're hosting events, though, because I think you had touched on the idea of sisterhood and creating a true sisterhood where women actually uplift each other instead of tearing each other down. Like, we have got to stop with the jealousy and the tearing down and the not being happy because it went well for someone. It's like, no, celebrate.
I agree. Yeah. Especially when we're giving birth. Like, this is women's business and we should be there for one another. And you are very emotional and very vulnerable, and you need people rallying around you, not, as you said, competing or trying to undermine you or wreck your experience in some way, whether passively or unconsciously or whatever it might be. So I think that's really important. And finding your tribe, as you touched on earlier, it might not be the people that you're blood related to. And that's okay. They can have their opinions. They can navigate the world and move through the world in the way that they want to. It's got nothing to do with you. But that doesn't mean that you need to adopt their stuff. So I think that's the other key piece for me, is providing sisterhood outside of maybe social circles that women are already existing in, and finding women that are really aligned with seeing birth in a different way and experiencing birth in a different way. And so I think that's important, to really call in those women that are aligned with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And in postpartum too, community goes a long way.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Jess. Oh my goodness, I have loved this. I'm so excited.
I feel like I could chat to you for hours. There's so many other little topics that little rabbit holes we could go down.
I know. We'll have to do another episode, because this is really fun, and I do really want to take the podcast in a more spiritually encompassing direction. Each season kind of has a little bit of its own flavor, but that's kind of where I'm feeling things going in general. So
no, I loved it. And this was actually the first podcast I've done. So I was a little bit nervous.
You did
and
fabulous.
Kind of stumbling on my words. Like, I forgot fetal
you did amazing.
ejection reflex. I couldn't even remember what that was. So just edit me and make me look cute, okay?
I'll do my best. And I'll make sure that I include all of your information in the show notes for everyone. Yes, thank you everyone so much for listening. We're so glad that you are here. And we will be back with season 5, the last Monday of October. That's what I'm trying to say. So we will see. We will see you all then, if you could make sense of what I was saying. And if you can't, you can look on Instagram.
Thank you so much for listening. If you are loving this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and leave us a review. Both of these really help the show. As you go out into the world this week, know that we are sending you so much love and wishing you a wonderful and beautiful day. And we will see you back here soon.